Welcome to the Calligram podcast, aka Five Fun Film Friends Films podcast.
Jackson, you're getting good at that. That was a pretty good one on the harmonica, wasn't it?
You know what they say that to become an expert at a musical instrument, all you have to do is play it once a week before a podcast.
Right.
And how many weeks have you played it?
I want to say like
10 weeks.
I want to say like 10.
Yeah,
or 8
it's
or
about
something.
10
been
weeks.
10 weeks. Okay.
So that's 10 weeks, 5 seconds. That's about 50. I'm gonna say a full minute of playing harmonica.
There we go. You're well on your way to 10,000 hours.
No, I reckon it's got to be less than a minute. I mean, if you're 10 times 4 seconds, is only like 40 seconds. So.
Bit of practice between takes.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're probably you're over a minute. Like maybe like 70 seconds or something like that.
Let's say 70 seconds, 75 to be safe.
On your way to 2 minutes.
Maybe.
Hey, let's do a little, dare I say, Flesh and Ivory 4 here. I just want to lean into Flesh and Ivory 4 on the distribution. We're actually having... We're doing quite well.
We can give... I guess we can't... Well, we haven't heard anything officially, so we're putting the cart before the horse here.
Taylor
Okay,
said 4, and I
Oh,
was
wait, no,
like,
the horse.
there's a trilogy that I don't know about.
There was a Flesh and Ivory trilogy.
Yeah.
There was a Flesh and Ivory trilogy, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what
I
I'm
meant,
saying
like,
in terms
films.
of podcasts.
Oh, right.
I was so confused. I was like, all right, yeah, 3 parts of the podcast.
There's more story to be told, even after the third one.
Yeah. Well, all I'll say is Jackson and I applied to a few festivals, and now we're being approached by festivals, and we're only in phase 1, more or less, of the distribution.
And how many phases would you say? There's probably at least 3 or 4 or 5 phases.
I reckon there's, probably 5 or 6.
5, yeah.
5 or 6?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we're going to, I can say this, we're going to bring it home to Australia in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That's where we want to land. That's probably 6.
Right, okay.
So keen to be able to send out the invites, guys. Come along.
Can we talk about the differences of what we've been doing in regard to distribution between Attraction and Flesh and Ivory?
Oh yeah,
Because
definitely.
that is day and night.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of nuts because Flesh and Ivory has not changed. The name has changed from Attraction to Flesh and Ivory. That's the only difference in the film.
However, we brought in a consultant
Yeah.
to kind of, what would you call it, spearhead distribution for us.
Yeah.
And it just completely brings to life the responses that we've been having on Flesh and Ivory.
Yeah.
We've been, what word would you use? Very, very pleasantly surprised.
But that's kind of what to me is interesting about this flip. Is marketing is the difference because it's the same.
There was
film.
only a couple key things that we did differently that caused such a drastic change in the response from
exactly.
festivals, and that's what I wanted to get at. But you kind of need the contrast between what we were doing for Attraction and what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you don't get too much out of it.
The point is that it's the strategy with which you go about distribution. It's not necessarily the film.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We
that
just needed.
is so true, isn't it?
Yeah, we just needed something. Jackson and I are confident in our film, and we know that we spent all that time working on it, for God's sake. But we just needed, we needed Danny's assistance to help us to inspire people to actually pay an interest in it and not just see us as these no-name filmmakers, who aren't in Hollywood yet, who aren't doing all these things, and to see the value in, an independent filmmaker that you don't know.
Yeah. And I guess to give people a bit of context, what you do when you're distributing a film, at least at our level, is you submit to festivals via something called Film Freeway, which is an online platform that connects filmmakers to festivals. Festivals upload a page of their festival and basically is a portal that allows you to submit your film to that festival. You can choose the categories you want to apply for. It'll let you know if you've made it in or not. It's pretty much the go-to place to submit to festivals these days. After talking to Danny, we realized that is not the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Because that is what everybody's doing. And we kind of want to separate ourselves from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah.
Great. So I have a question. How big was the gap when you finished film school to, I don't know, working professionally? What more subjects do you wish that they had taught you that they did not teach you? I mean, one's coming off to mind right now, Noah. We were developing a contract for a short film that we're hoping that it could be made.
Yeah, we're hoping it goes into production.
And Noah, I said to you, how the hell, like, it's a crime, it's criminal that they did not teach you how to do contracts in film school. That, like, completely should be a subject.
I think they consider contracts actual legalities, which they are, and the way in which film school gets around that is like, well, here's a pre-written contract, sign your name on it. It's written with appropriate legal language, and they wouldn't trust a student to write one because they don't want to be held liable, because the film school's attached to the film that you're making by name, no matter what it is. So they can't afford for people to be taking legal chances and students making up their own bloody legal language with zero legal training, right?
Yeah.
So they could do a class where they bring in like some teacher to teach you how to do that. It's almost like it should be compulsory, but still I think students would fuck it up regardless. It doesn't matter. The point being in film school is, no, it's not taught, at least it wasn't at our film school, and you're basically given a template contract, which you just get people to sign.
So there is a knowledge gap. You need
course.
contracts if you want to professionally go into film.
Yeah,
You are
yeah,
brought in to
absolutely.
do this job, and here are the parameters of this job. There is none of that in film school. People just expect you to just do everything without a contract, and it doesn't really work like that.
That's true. I remember being like hired in film school for like freelance gigs and things like this, and signing contracts and getting sent like 40-page contracts and things like this, and being like,
Just super
even if I
under
could read
equipped.
this, I wouldn't know what the hell it meant.
And those
So,
were even
like-
for projects where you weren't even getting paid.
Yes,
Yeah.
So imagine a contract where
No,
there's
he's
finances
gonna get
involved.
paid on the back end one day. He's gonna get $5,000
No,
on the
no.
back
I
end one
did.
day.
I
When it
signed
makes
I'm still
yeah.
waiting on stuff on the back end.
Yeah, dude.
in film school. I signed contracts to work on things where I didn't get paid, and I signed contracts to work on things where I did get paid.
Yeah.
Right.
And the point being, like, both contracts, I didn't know what the hell I was signing.
Yeah.
I just signed it because I got to work on a thing.
Yeah. But then as you get a bit older, you cross that threshold where you're like, hang on, I'm actually going to sit down and read this with like a fine-tooth comb because
Sure.
I have more of an understanding of what it is, and I want to know, like what the hell I'm signing here.
Well, it's as simple as, like, I'm not, like, too dumb in that. If someone signs me a contract, I could very well get screwed. I know that. But it's like, what other alternative do I have here to work in this industry rather than to sign it? So, like, yes, I can read it and see what I'm being held liable for, and I'm pretty sure I did read them, but, like, they're, like, impossible to read because the language is, like, legal language. It's like, people can't understand this, you know what I mean?
I think the problem lies in that university was teaching us to go into the workforce to be a worker, not to be a leader.
yeah, very true.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we would go into positions where we're crew or cast, where contracts will get handed to us for us to sign.
True.
They never taught us how to be in a position where we are the ones making these contracts
Very true.
or hiring people to make these contracts. They don't tell us how to start a company or
No.
anything about legislation. They kind of we have to figure that
Ourselves.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is a bit unfortunate. I mean, there was a class on like screen producing and screen distribution, but it wasn't really the same thing.
I didn't learn anything in that.
Did you
about
go to
working a
that class so
contract.
you can say that it's not the same as what we've been doing?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember for the final assessment for screen distribution, you had to do a case analysis on a film that you thought had an interesting distribution plan, and I did mine on the Blair Witch Project because it was interesting, because it would like showed the dawn of on the internet's influence on like viewer enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I haven't used any of it.
Okay, can I
You
now
know?
allow me to retort
Yeah,
from Pulp Fiction?
yeah,
Fiscally, Blair Witch is a major success. I mean, what did they make that for?
Yeah.
I don't know, like less than 100,000. Like, it's probably
in terms of the cost to profit ratio, it's
Insane.
the most profitable
All time.
film of all
I'm pretty
time.
sure it was like $6,000, and then it was even
Okay.
less because then they returned the camera to the store that they bought it from. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah,
I
it
actually, as a
was
matter
over
of fact-
100 million.
I just thought it happened. I thought it was real as a kid.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
It-
But you know, like it's quite.
That's how they
realistic.
marketed it.
How
Yeah,
much
Yeah.
did it make, Isaac? 250 million? Something
yeah,
like
it
this?
was well over.
Okay,
It was
yeah.
huge, and how we can go into this a little bit, but like it's kind of not my point. Is like from that, but like I haven't used any of that.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing about that marketing campaign is, like, I think a lot of the best marketing campaigns for movies come out of the fact that the movie's tied to the marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Like the reason that you could run the marketing campaign on the Blair Witch is because of the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
In the same way that like that Cloverfield marketing campaign was one of the coolest fucking things ever, because they were like, "What's the monster?" hiding it in the trailers, and you had people on like message boards.
Pretty cool movie too. I did enjoy that movie.
Yeah. But like the marketing for it is so memorable because the movie and its plot afforded you the opportunity to have that marketing that was like, because they were intrinsically tied to each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those end up being the most memorable marketing campaigns because they end up being part of the film's experience, especially if you were around when the film was being marketed. It's like, how do you market Flesh and Ivory? It's like, well, you know.
I don't know. That's a thing.
But you know,
I
seriously,
don't know.
word of mouth as well. Like even Top Gun, word of mouth has carried Top Gun so far. Everyone, I could go, if I go and see 10 people on the street right now, I reckon 7 of them, you know, have you seen Top Gun? They'd be like, "Oh yeah, bro, it's so cool. Like, it's so good." And I saw it with my old man, and then I actually saw it again with Tegan. And it is cool. It is awesome. So obviously they made a great movie, and then they did a massive marketing campaign. Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, they know like what they're doing. But then word of mouth also has carried. Like anybody who's anybody now has seen, you got to catch Top Gun in the cinema.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
It becomes a bit easier to carry a movie through word of mouth when the budget is hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That buys a lot of billboards and a lot of social media advertisements and bloody Tom Cruise's face is on the thing. It's like, yeah, of course everybody knows about this movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The real difficulty is like when something is smaller, has no franchise behind it, isn't based off an existing property, and then you try and blow it up.
Yeah.
Like, what big movie in the last 10 years? Well, I can think of a few.
Paranormal Activity.
Okay, Paranormal Activity. I think that's 20 years now.
Scared the shit out of me.
But I'm saying, like, at least in the last 10 years, because, I mean, after 2008, the whole industry changed. So you have to, like, look at it and be like, what movie in the last decade-ish, a little over a decade now, that has that huge scale of popularity is not based on an existing property, whether it be a previous movie, a video game, a bloody anything, a book, whatever. Like what? Because if you make those movies, you know that because there is some existing property for that, like then there's going to be some sort of guaranteed audience. So that's why those movies are made.
Get Out.
Avatar.
Yeah, Get Out, right, and Avatar. So like Avatar was, for a few reasons, like they managed to blow it up, I think, because it was like this 3D marathon thing, and they marketed
But still,
the shit
if
out
you're
of
James Cameron blowing that up, it's not like...
Exactly.
If you're James Cameron
He
at
already
that point
had
in
the
your
highest
career
grossing
blowing that
film
up.
ever.
He did, yeah, exactly. So he knows what he's doing, and they could put it up in front of the eyes of a trillion people. I mean, Get Out sort of did that in a way, but like once again, it's one example. Okay, so let's just point that out. But the other thing is like, I mean, people watched Key and Peele and they knew who Key and Peele were, but I don't think that that's the reason that blew up. The reason that blew up is
word of mouth.
But the movie is like sort of inherently, it's not like I don't want to say controversial. It's because it's kind of controversial, but it's just making social commentary.
Yeah.
And so if you have a movie that makes like political or social commentary, it's easy to blow up as well. It's like, you should see this because it's saying something important about the current cultural conversation. And Get Out came out just at the right time as well.
Yeah.
So like, it had a lot of things going for it. And also, it's a really fucking cool movie.
Yeah. Get Out's fun. I remember being in the cinema opening weekend and people were like, I don't know, a few years have passed now, we can say things about Get Out.
Just spoilers for
Get Out. Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So at the end, when he finally takes down the white girlfriend who's lured him onto this ranch.
It's actually quite a great performance by her, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
She makes you hate her.
Oh, she's terrifying. Yeah, she's scary as.
She's really good.
People in my cinema were like cheering.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah. Like this
Really
one guy
enjoyed it.
yelled like, get the...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really fun to be in there.
I saw
had a
it
great
in
time.
the cinema in LA.
Yeah.
And I had like the same thing. That's an interesting question. When have you been in a cinema when you can palpably feel the audience, everybody in there, the mood changing from one moment to another in the cinema? I remember I spoke with Danny and Jill about this just recently. Like when you go into the cinema, it is like going into a cave. You are in a cave, just like when hundreds of thousands of years ago, cavemen would put stuff on the wall, would draw on the wall, and then maybe act out a performance. It is just the technological advancement of that.
More or less. I'm not a history buff, so I'll take your word for it, but that makes sense to me.
Take my word for it. 100,000 years ago, I was there, and that's what happened. Okay, so and now I'm here, and I'll let you know in the next 100,000 years what it's like. No,
I do wish there were stricter rules on theatres, because I almost have a more immersive experience when I'm at home now, just because of how.
Oh no, you can't. Nah, don't say that.
It's
you
true.
Can't say
Don't kill our industry.
No, I'm not killing our industry, and I love theatres, but I'm just saying I wish people would shut the fuck up. But like,
Yeah, same.
but so.
Unless
popcorn is, like,
it's
the
Avengers
loudest
Endgame,
kind of
I want to
food.
be in there with people screaming. When
In
Cap
Avengers Endgame,
catches
that
the
was
hammer.
that was
Sorry.
one of those communal
I'm sorry.
experiences.
I was just cause when you mentioned that, I was like, this is such an obvious answer.
Yeah.
But yes, I squeezed my popcorn so hard that it shot out of the bottom when Cap caught the hammer.
Yeah.
Because I was in the cinema with my dad at Capalaba Central Cinemas in 2008 when Iron Man 1 came out.
Wow.
And I was there with my friends from high school who
In,
had
like,
seen a bunch of the other
2019.
ones in 2019 when Cap caught the hammer.
Wow.
You know, and it was like, say what you will about Marvel. Like, I'm not trying to make films like that, but I can really appreciate like how well it can bring people together.
Films like that, Isaac. What do you mean? Not real cinema.
All right.
Refer back to our reel. Check out our Instagram. There's a
Martin
thumbnail
Scorsese.
with De Niro and Scorsese. Watch that.
Yeah.
Taylor, when have you felt like that in a cinema? When have you had an experience where you're in there and everyone's like, you're seeing reactions change and people leaning forward in the seat? And...
So when you see a film in LA, one of the ticket people or just someone in the staff will walk down to the front and be like, now, this film is Avengers Endgame. Thank you for coming to the cinema.
That's so weird.
You know?
Really?
I love that.
Like, seriously, like, please enjoy.
There's none of that pageantry.
And, like, they present the movie, they, like, shout it out to,
That's
like,
so
the whole
cool.
theater. And, like, it really, like, kind of gets you in the mood for it.
Is that in every theater?
Most theaters, at pretty much every single one
Really?
I went to in America. I also went and saw, when I was driving across America with my family when they came out to visit me, we were driving back from Vegas to LA, and my mum and my sister and my grandmother wanted to go shopping. So we pulled up at like this big, I don't know what you call it, like a big like DFO equivalent kind of thing in America. They were like, we're going to go shopping for like 5 hours. Everything's cheap as chips out here. We'll catch you in 5 hours. I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? So I was just walking around. It was a pretty nice complex. And I found a cinema. So I just saw something. I think it was The Dark Tower with Matthew McConaughey in it and Idris Elba.
Oh,
it's actually
right.
not bad. Seriously,
I
it's
haven't
not.
seen
It's
it.
not. I actually didn't mind it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what I'm saying is, even in that cinema in the middle of nowhere, someone still presented it. So I think it may have been like a culturally American thing, or maybe like a West Coast thing, maybe a Californian thing, you know, where they're like really, because everyone's so into films and movies over there. But yeah, it does get you into it. Look, I was there. I saw with my dad Avengers Endgame as well, when Cap grabs the hammer. Like, what a moment, you know. Fat Thor as well. Big, huge laugh.
Yeah.
Fat Thor. Remember that?
Yeah, and seeing like Hulk sitting in the back of the tiny ute with that awesome, I wish I could say what the song is, but there's this beautiful like quirky folk song.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is where this movie's at right now. Holy shit, I did not think. In the Endgame as well, when they kill Thanos like 15 minutes in, and then the title card comes up with 5 years later, I had the whole cinema go, ooh, because it was like, oh, we thought we were going to end with killing Thanos. Like, I don't know.
As soon as I saw that, the thought that
what's
I had,
going to happen.
what I thought to myself here is, oh, so you're killing Thanos twice in this film. That's what I thought to myself.
Yeah.
What are we laughing at?
I'm laughing because I can see Noah mentally stretching for this one.
I saw Avengers Endgame with Noah in the theater.
Yeah, I
and
did. That's
that
what
was
I did.
one of my best cinema experiences ever, because in the scene where you see Thor playing Fortnite, Noah jumped up from his chair
I did.
and started clapping.
I did.
It was fucking incredible.
Why?
I was really emotionally moved that they
He
like,
didn't.
did that.
Yeah.
He didn't.
And then he
it
did
was
the
so-
Fortnite dance, he put the L on his head and did the little,
it-
little leg move.
It was such excellent social commentary. I couldn't believe that they inserted
Dude,
that
when
in
the
there.
troll was talking mad shit,
No,
and
I
then
just thought
Korg was like, oi.
It was just it was just so nice to see like in a Marvel
Let's
movie.
go, Noah.
He is cracked at Fortnite, my guy.
I really,
Do you play Fortnite?
Stop lying.
I'm on Fortnite every day. It was just so cool. I think that Marvel.
No.
Are we actually getting live praise for a Marvel movie from Noah
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah,
Well,
it was really like intelligently meta. I jumped up and I applauded, and then everybody else applauded.
I've never
as well.
actually seen a movie with Noah. Is this the kind of shit he does?
Yeah, no, 100%.
I love this.
Is this the kind of shit you
Dude,
do?
Noah always the loudest in the cinema.
Yep.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No.
Always.
Oh, okay.
He's always went totally.
When sorry, spoiler alert. When Black Widow died,
Yeah.
I broke down crying, and Jackson had to console me. It was.
I had to sit this man on my lap and
Yeah.
just like gently cradle him until he stopped. And then he unfollowed ScarJo on Instagram.
At Tony Stark's funeral, I was beside myself. I
Exactly. He stood up and can't take it anymore.
mean, I've had family members die,
Shit.
and that was more emotional.
Oh my god, I gotta put the kettle on.
I couldn't believe it. Like, it was heart wrenching.
Dude, that is way sadder than in a more. I'm not gonna spoil Amor.
I know Amor was sad, alright? I know. Like, I get it. I
Amor
watched
was
it.
pretty sad, but
Yeah.
like, come on.
Maybe
What
if-
were the stakes, really?
Maybe if Haneke had, like, 20-something movies lead up where I could really, like, flesh out, like, the emotional arc of that character, then I really would have been heartbroken. at the end of it.
Exactly.
But-
how many superheroes were in Amor? I bet you can't even name one.
I mean, Amor did have a pigeon that could fly, but
Oh.
there are so many superheroes that are way cooler because they're like don't have wings and they can fly.
That's true.
When Captain Marvel shot through that alien
The
spaceship,
big spaceship,
thing.
and then it went boom.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
If someone came to you, Izac, and said, "We want you to make this Marvel movie off to the side," you'd say yes.
It would depend on what it is and how much freedom they're willing to give me.
And how much money?
Not this early in the game.
There was an episode.
Come back later when I have a family to feed. It might be a
I
different
I can actually
discussion.
comment like intelligently on this a little bit. I saw an episode of the Hollywood Roundtable discussions, and the guy, the moderator or whatever, asked the group of directors, "Have any of you been asked to do a Marvel movie?" And a few of them put their hands up and said, "Yeah," and I turned it down because I didn't feel like my voice as a director was fleshed out enough in order to make that movie, which tells you a few things. Which is one is that your voice as a director is not going to be able to come through as much in a movie that costs $1 quadrillion because you can't make certain artistic decisions when there's that much money at stake. But that's just business.
Yeah.
This doesn't really have anything to do with like. You can make an argument that it has to do with like suppressing artistic talent and integrity, but at the same time, if someone's giving you $200 million and they have to pay everybody to do everything, you can understand why they're coming through on that from that angle from a business. I'm not saying I agree with it or that I disagree with it. I'm just saying that like, here's $1 million. If you burn it, it's not that big a deal. Here's $200 million.
Yeah.
Like that's a much bigger deal.
It comes down to like return on investment.
Exactly. And the movie has to stay PG, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's nothing.
So they can get more butts in seats. Yeah, you need to be able to put a whole family in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like I don't want to say over here that I'm like bagging on Marvel or anything like this. Like the superhero movies that are made, but we can acknowledge this and be honest about this. They're made for a particular audience, and the audience is a mass audience. That's why they do well. They're made for a mass audience. If Marvel didn't have a mass audience, it wouldn't be this huge thing that everybody loves. It'd be a niche thing, but it's not. It's huge. You know what I mean? And like Marvel's done a really good job, and Disney's done a really good job of getting everybody into this stuff because there's this argument made that it's like, oh, it's all comic book nerds watching these Marvel movies. That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And you really think Marvel would have started and Disney would have like sunk hundreds of millions of dollars into the industry, the comic book industry, like people who read comic books? Like, who the fuck reads comic books?
Yeah.
Really?
I haven't read a single comic book, and I have watched
Exactly.
almost every single film.
So
in
the argument
MCU.
that it's like, that's why they did it to begin with. It's like, no, that's not why they did it at all. It's like Iron Man did really well, and then it slowly had increments of like, oh, people actually enjoy superhero movies.
Yeah, and they like this. A huge thing is they like this tone.
Yes, exactly.
In superhero films,
Yeah.
because we had the super comical superhero films of the 80s,
which didn't do awesomely.
which didn't do amazingly well, and then they got a lot more serious.
Yeah.
They tried to bring in the realism when X-Men and stuff like that started coming in, and then Iron Man was like, okay, what is this like
Middle
best of
ground.
both worlds situation? And then you got Iron Man, which has, you know, him getting the shrapnel taken out of his chest, and him, you know, getting tortured by, you know, people in the Middle East in the beginning, and then
Exactly.
you end up with him, you know, hey, let's go get cheeseburgers. Like, everyone wins with that tone.
Yeah, and I think Izac said best there, implying that this tone was. I just want to like clarify, obviously, that don't want to speak for you, but you know, saying best I think means best to a mass audience.
Oh
not best
yeah,
to
yeah.
everyone.
What's the best way we can, like? How can we
Please as many people as possible.
Yeah, how can we cater to both?
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm just gonna say, I think Infinity War does a really great job of putting a really good story out there and giving everyone their moment. And they had a huge cast of characters to give their moment. And they
Yeah.
managed to give everyone a moment, an important moment,
Yeah.
and still drive the story forward in a way that's really interesting. I think Infinity War is really good.
Yeah. Infinity
And
War.
you lose in the end as well, which is something different.
I really and I was so happy when it, like, which sounds sinister as hell, but I was really happy when they killed half of everyone, because I was like, oh, so they had the balls to do that. And obviously they bring them all back, you know, in the next movie, but still, to do that, I was like, thank you for doing that. Okay, cool.
Okay, question.
I disagree respectfully.
I know, because I understand why. I think I know.
Once you resurrect people, the stakes are gone.
Yeah. But they hadn't yet. That's where I'm coming with.
Yeah.
At that point in time, they had not yet, and we all knew that.
Yeah, but
You can't kill the Guardians of the Galaxy before the third Guardians of the Galaxy film comes out.
I'll pick this.
You know?
I can say like it's like when Black Panther. I think I should be able to say this when they like pretend like in the middle of the movie that he dies, and then he comes back in the same movie. But there was never any stakes, because wasn't he in a trailer for like one of the other films at the same time, or like mentioned in like the credits for Infinity War? One, they like pretended that the character died in the movie.
I think they had him credited in Endgame.
Right.
And he was meant to be dead, but also...
But that came out, that was credited and in writing when
Yeah.
Black Panther came out in the cinema.
I
there's
see what you mean.
There's this plot point in Black Panther.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, but everybody has seen Black Panther.
Oh,
at this
in
point.
Black Panther.
In the
okay,
actual Black
right.
Panther single movie where
Yeah.
he dies.
Yeah.
I see
And
what you mean,
it's like,
Noah.
oh, is he? It's like, of course he's not dead. He's in the bloody
Yes,
Endgame
but
movie.
Yeah.
take away Infinity War, which is
Yeah.
saying that's what it was accredited that he was going to be in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you know that they're all probably on multi-movie
Sure. Yeah, of course,
contracts,
of
right?
course.
The movie is called Black Panther, so you know 2/3 of the way through when he goes over the edge, you know he's coming back, regardless of any other movies happening in that universe.
True.
You know he's coming back. It's probably one of the, what do they call it, like the five stories,
Yeah.
most common stories.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll give you another example. So you're telling me that
That makes sense.
in Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, when Aragorn goes over the edge, you don't think he's coming back?
I think those movies.
Huh? Gotcha.
I think those movies had enough. I'll just say.
Oh no, here it comes.
I think those movies had enough guts to actually kill characters off, because characters die. Like Boromir dies. You know what I mean?
Bro, they literally brought Gandalf back like immediately.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. But okay. So first,
When I was a kid and I
Yeah,
watched,
he's magic.
he's
true.
magic. Yeah.
I knew Gandalf was coming back. I think no, I didn't know. I mean, you could go to the book, but I was, you know, when was that movie come out? 2002. I was 11 years old, so I'm not going to read Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. I actually tried, but I didn't get all the way through it, and I wouldn't have retained all of it. So you can go to the text and see that Gandalf is coming back, but you have an inkling that Gandalf might come back after that
Yeah.
scene, don't you?
For any hero in any story, I have an inkling that they're going to come back, because it's the biggest draw, usually.
I also don't think it removes the stakes completely though, because at the end of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he does go off to that boat, which is like the afterlife, and he does permanently die, and he even explains when he comes back, he's like, I'm here to correct this, and then I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that he's going, so the stakes are still there. And then when Frodo and him get on that boat at the end, it is sad. It's like they're not continuing in this universe, like it's over for them. So that really is commitment. My point here basically in all of this is just like, I don't like it when movies pretend to have stakes and don't. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Alright, so give me an example of one of the best executed and not gone back on stakes you've seen in a film.
In any movie? I'm allowed to say any movie?
Don't tell me some movie that was made in 1951 that I'm not going to know. Tell me something reasonable.
Like
Something reasonable.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so
I know what you mean, but it's funny. It's like, don't talk to me.
Dumb it down for me, Noah,
okay,
please.
famous movies that really stick to their stakes and like properly commit to things and don't like move out the way.
I would
you know
say
what
that
I mean?
the Breaking
Like this.
Bad
Yeah,
universe,
I-
once something happens,
Well, Breaking
you know
Bad's
it's
a good
probably
example of
not.
Yeah, because it's first of all, it's realism. It's like
Sure.
in real life, people don't mysteriously get resurrected.
Sure.
There's a movie example that I know you'll like, Taylor.
Tell me.
Heat.
Oh yeah, it's like probably one of my favorite films
Yeah,
ever.
De Niro really dies in the end,
Yeah.
and he really is one of the true heroes of the story.
We're spoiling so many movies in this podcast.
Breaks
Yeah.
my heart.
Well, yeah,
every
It came out in
time.
the 90s.
Just things that Taylor likes. I mean, the Godfather movies, both of the first two at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the third thing, but the first two really commit. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's more of a thing than a movie. The first two seriously commit to their stakes, and
Yeah.
it's devastating. It's devastating. Both of those movies endings
Yeah.
are just like holy shit.
Oh man, when Pacino's wife
That
dies in
scene's-
the car explosion.
Oh, not
dude,
only that,
I was
think
beside myself.
the scene with the most like there's the most stakes in it for me that really like tears the movie apart is when Diane Keaton explains to Al Pacino that she had the baby.
Oh, in the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is such a devastating scene, and it
Yeah.
has so much behind it because they don't go back on that. That's really what happened. Then it rips the whole fucking movie apart, and like. So like stakes like that. I'm trying to think of like other movies without spoiling them, where I can like say, okay, Requiem for a Dream is a movie that's very popular. I feel like most people know about this movie, and
Oh, it's intense.
and it completely commits to all of its stakes.
It does.
There's no pussying out at all in that movie.
Even so far that I have not I watched it once and I have not revisited it, and I do not think I will revisit
Yeah.
it. because
It's rough. I've seen it a
it's
whole bunch
pretty
of
rough.
times, but I do
I'm the
love it.
same. I remember I had I actually can't believe I remember this. After I watched it, I remember I had a conversation with Noah at like 1 a.m. in depth, talking about all of the things that I loved about it
Yeah.
and adored about it. And seriously, the same as you, the fact that I seriously never plan on watching it again.
Is it trying to, as a cautionary
Just
tale, say,
for the best
don't
reasons.
do this, don't take drugs?
Totally, but it's saying so much more, because for especially for the mother character, it's not just about
That's right.
that.
Some kind of
It's
mental
about
illness in
holding on to like your golden years as well. You know, it's about don't live in the past, because
It's
it will, if you try and like metaphorically fit into that dress, like it will strangle you. Like
It's a
you
movie.
will
It's a
die.
movie that really artfully and honestly explains to an audience who don't understand what addiction is that addiction is a mental health disorder and it's not about drugs.
Yeah,
And the ways in which it communicates those things with all of those crosscuts and the ways in which her taking the diet pills is no better or worse than someone shooting heroin.
yeah.
Is
It's just prescribed
exactly.
and recommended.
Yeah, because it's prescribed. So, but it's like it's so brilliantly executed, edited, put together, where you see these parallel stories running, and you know that's the point it's making. You know what I mean? But it's tackling addiction better than 99.9% of movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's genius.
So,
So-
a film like Requiem for a Dream, I
Yeah.
think it's a good film. It's a cautionary tale. It says it's a really well put together cautionary tale saying don't do this, or I mean, as best you can, you want to try not to do this.
Yeah,
right.
or like
So-
these people with these issues often fall into these kind of traps.
So here's
And we need to account and look after these kinds of people
Yeah,
and make
for
sure.
sure.
So
Yeah.
Taylor, I think you're assuming a distinction that, or like skipping past the distinction by assuming something. So put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
You say Requiem for a Dream is saying don't do this. I don't think it is saying don't do this. I think
I'm not
it's
saying that's broadly the only thing it's saying. It's saying much more nuanced.
What I'm saying is, I don't think that it's saying don't do drugs. What Requiem for a Dream is doing is showing you what addiction is and what happens to people who deal with addiction.
Yeah.
You inferred that it's saying don't do drugs. The movie didn't tell you that. It showed you people's stories, and then you inferred that it was good not to do that. There's no point in the film A Requiem for a Dream where a character talks to another character in a long expository thing and says, heroin's really bad and you shouldn't do it, audience member, things like this. So I take issue with a lot of that in movies, because I think at that point they become propagandistic as a tell don't show as opposed to show don't tell.
So is Breaking Bad saying don't do this, or is it just showing people who have big ambition like Walter White
all of
had
this stuff,
and has,
I will say, is,
in the film, in
in my opinion, Requiem for a Dream isn't telling its audience not to do drugs. That's just my opinion. I don't feel like the movie is forcing a message down my throat. I agree that Breaking Bad is not forcing a message down.
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm saying, is like, and everybody's going to have a different gauge as to what that is. It's just that my gauge and my taste says that I'm not being forced to believe something. And I don't like to be told what to believe by a movie. We've talked on other podcasts about this.
Yeah.
But that's all I'm saying, is like, I think a movie can be written in such a way where it's telling you what to think. And I think those movies are irresponsible.
Yeah.
I'll say that. And so, like, with Breaking Bad, I don't feel like I'm being told not to go cook meth. I feel like I'm being told the story of a man who did what he could to try to support his family and did a lot of immoral shit in order to do moral shit. It's just like a Godfather movie, you know what I mean? It's like, we live by our own code of ethics, and our family is more important than everybody else's family for no other reason than it's my family. But, like, a lot of people behave that way, and maybe if you were put in the position that Walter White was in, you might start cooking meth too. Is the point that it was sort of making. And so it's as simple as that, really. I think, like, Breaking Bad is responsible. I think it's a great series. I love Breaking Bad.
He said he loves it. He says it's not the greatest of all time.
No, I don't think it's the greatest TV series of all time, but I think it's great.
I'll say, because Noah and I have gone back and forth on this about, and it's become a huge thing because, IMDb does it, Rotten Tomatoes does it, people do it all the time on Letterboxd. It all gets brought down to what is it on a scale of 1 to 10,
which is dumb. I mean,
and everyone's understanding of what a 10 is and what an 8 is different. So like, we had this debate earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I said earlier that I thought, in my opinion, that Breaking Bad as a show, though it has, maybe it has moments that aren't perfect. Maybe it has, like, the second season, which is definitely, like, the weaker season.
Yeah, agreed.
But because, to me, it's the greatest television show I've ever seen, personally, I would feel remiss to not give it a 10 out of 10. And Noah loves it.
Yeah.
Noah thinks Breaking Bad's amazing.
Yeah.
But to him, it's an 8. Because he's seen other things.
It's just that different numbers on this arbitrary scale mean different things to different people. And to be honest, like, I mean, I have an IMDb and a Letterboxd, and I'm not telling anybody what any of them
it is.
But, like, it's like, I only do it to, like, for myself, essentially, to keep track of, like, a catalogue of movies so that I can be like, I want to watch a great horror movie. Let me check through my catalogue and see, like, which ones I thought were great. And then, I go back and I change ratings. I feel a different way about a movie, maybe, if I watch it again at a different time in my life.
I really like that Letterboxd does that thing where you can go top rated, and it'll immediately give you all of your 5-star films.
And all that's showing you is that, like, most people think that this thing is this way. But you don't have to think that.
Yeah.
Like, if you think that you have to think that, you should reevaluate how you think. Like, you don't have to think anything's good or anything's bad that anybody thinks is popular. It's fine. You can have a different opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, Isaac, you were saying before we started the podcast that people have said to you, keep watching Better Call Saul because it gets even better than Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So you're just at the start of season 3, right?
Yeah. I last night watched the final episode of season 2, and I plan to watch episode 1 tonight.
Okay.
I'm like right in between. Yeah.
If you keep watching, it does, because I love Breaking Bad, I loved El Camino, and I love Better Call Saul. For whatever they are what they are, and I think you could probably even do more in that world with other supporting characters.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will. I hope they do. There's 6 episodes left of Better Call Saul. Tegan and I cannot wait. I think it comes out in like 10 days, but maybe when this podcast comes out, I'll probably even could be at home watching it.
Yeah.
But in the middle of Better Call Saul, just like Breaking Bad heats up, Better Call Saul heats up to a temperature that I would say is almost as hot as Breaking Bad, if not as hot as Breaking Bad.
I really hope
it's like a brother.
I hope that's
Breaking
the case. Yeah, because then suddenly I just have two shows that I love like as much as I love Breaking
Bad. And I was
Bad.
saying this to you. I don't think that they could make.
I would love that. That's great.
Exactly, and like I said earlier, I don't think that they could have made Better Call Saul if Breaking Bad didn't already exist.
Yeah,
I don't think they would have had the trust to take their time that much with the character building to go that slow. I think a studio probably would have like put their hand on the shoulder and been like, speed this up. I think because Breaking Bad was such a well-received show universally, Better Call Saul could take its time more. And I think Better Call Saul is a better show for it. And I think it makes it very, very unique because it's almost like a second bite of the cherry to make a show because of Breaking Bad. Whereas other shows are the first bite of a cherry. Yeah. So they have to go at a pace that the studio is okay with. But Better Call Saul almost had like a clean slate. Like you just make whatever you want to make. We'll trust you.
Yeah.
And it really, let me ask you this. Does watching Better Call Saul, at times, does it feel like Breaking Bad?
Yeah, definitely. Even in the visual styles, like there's shots where I'm like, that's straight out of... Well, it's not that Breaking Bad was the first people, they were the first people to do it. But, you know, there's things like Breaking Bad loves to do this shot that whenever someone looks inside of a container, they have the camera as if it were the surface of the bottom of the container, you know, and then you can see the faces of whoever's looking into it. Better Call Saul does heaps of that.
Pulp Fiction probably
there's
did
heaps
that
of
even
stuff
first.
with and like there's heaps of things like that, but it's this. It's got a similar humor.
Yeah,
like the drama's similar. The pace is damn near identical. I won't speak because in season 5 of Breaking Bad, the pace gets like ludicrous.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll ever get to that. It's like...
keep watching.
Yeah.
It definitely speeds up a little bit and the stakes get higher. One thing about Breaking Bad that you can see is Breaking Bad's kind of got like a greenish kind of tint to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone would argue with that. Like you can see on the
even
title
in
credits,
the costume design, like that's...
Costume design,
like,
all of that.
It's intentional. Yeah,
and also Breaking Bad's kind of handheld, so the camera's a little bit shaky. At times, which makes you kind of feel some of the pressure that Walter White might be feeling, you know? Whereas where Better Call Saul really differs is Better Call Saul is like very much still camera. They're probably using more so, much more so. And then the green kind of color grade is gone, and you get like more like blues and like yellows even, I want to say. And then how that makes me feel when I watch it is almost that like Jimmy McGill, who is Saul, is boxed in to the frame that he's in, and how is he going to figure his way out. They do some really interesting things where when Jimmy's in a tough position and he's walking and the camera is like panning or moving with him, he's not in... So let's say he's walking from left to right. He's not in the left third of the frame with 2/3, the middle third and the right third in front of him, which shows... I'm moving forward, I'm moving into opportunity, I've got options. He's in the right third as he's moving from left to right. So it kind of makes you feel like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. The character doesn't know how he's going to think his way out. And the 2/3 are behind him, the middle third and the left third.
Yeah. So
they do some really interesting stuff like that.
That's a good pickup.
Did you notice that?
I didn't, to be honest, but like watching it with the plot, that's what's happening. He's a guy who's super likable, super clever, and he's always pushing to have the upper hand, and he somehow continuously doesn't.
It's very much, you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, and then you just the whole thing's like a Rubik's cube.
Yeah,
you know, and it's really, really interesting. But what I'm going to do, because I certainly want to direct one day, we've got so many things going on, I can't see myself doing it for a couple of years, but when we move these other things through, I'd love to try to do it. If I have a character who has options in front of him and is not under a lot of stress and problem, I'll put him in the left third with 2/3 in front of him. And if I have a character who is in trouble and he's moving, I'll put him in the front third and then have 2/3 behind him.
Yeah.
Is that just me, or does that make you kind of feel a little bit like...
No, it makes it. I love noticing stuff like that. Like, here we go. So Isaac is going to now talk briefly about Eternal Sunshine for the 100th time. Okay, so obviously Eternal Sunshine is about recalling memory. And there's the fantastic one of the opening scenes where Joel seems like he's meeting Clementine for the first time. And then
Spoilers!
Okay. It came out in 2004, guys. Catch up.
Okay.
And the train is moving right to left when you're inside the train, and they cut to outside the train, and the train is moving from in the train it's moving left to right, and outside the train it's moving right to left. And that's Michel Gondry giving you a little nod, saying they're reminiscing, they're moving backwards, they're not actually moving forwards like they think they are. And there's heaps of that, stuff like that, just with eyeline and direction.
So, okay.
Yeah, that's my grand idea.
I'm going to steal it, and hopefully no one... like Einstein said, the key to originality is hiding your sources.
Yeah.
So, what is one of the most interesting motifs like that? Like, would you call it a motif that you've seen in a film where you're like, the director is... I guess it's kind of that, like, realism versus interesting thing that I said. Like, I will make whatever I'm doing as an actor as interesting as I can, insofar as it does not go beyond realism.
Are you speaking strictly about camera work?
So now, as a director, like, kind of getting interesting on things, but not hurting the story, not at the expense of the story. Like, what's an interesting kind of motif or hint that you've seen?
Jackson, go.
I honestly can't think of any right now. Somebody
You
go first.
know when you see him.
I can't either, that's fine.
I got a bunch, I can go.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a brilliant film, I don't know the full title, but it's called Jeanne Dielman. It's a French film. It's from the 1970s.
This motherfucker.
It's
Talk about a Marvel
As
movie.
soon as you said, I can't remember what it's
okay,
called,
I'll pick
fucking
something
you.
more mainstream, okay? I'll pick a more mainstream thing. It was a good example. I'm sorry, none of you have seen these movies.
No, it's okay. No, even if you want it...
Just go for it, Noah, yeah.
I'm
There's lots of, here we're going about to say, okay, I gotta not pick artsy shit. I was about to say, Bergman does it all the time in his trilogy, but, like, I'm not gonna do that either. I'm gonna try and pick something that's, like, more mainstream, like, that people really like, and, like, as the thing that I feel like about all that, like, camera work, though, is, like, eventually that stuff starts to look, to me, kind of gimmicky. So, yes, it can be done in such a clever way where you box a character into a certain place and have it be that way, and I prefer it when the camera work is serving the story and not drawing attention to itself being cool, which is
definitely.
Which is sort of why I love that the Jeanne Dielman thing so much.
Yeah.
But I won't speak about it.
And I'll say this as well, like really briefly. Yeah. Like I don't think Soul is gimmicky, and I don't think it's prioritizing one or the other, because I didn't even notice it, but I felt. That's how I felt, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's one thing that contributed." But what's your What is the
thing in that movie?
I'll fucking watch Jeanne de Jean or whatever.
Jeanne Dielman. It's the name of a woman, and then like the title is her name and address. But like the movie takes place over like 3 days, and the way in which the camera movement, I don't even want to spoil it. The way in which the camera movement shows the change in her life by essentially the camera not moving says so much about who she is as a character, in that like she's essentially living a life that is extremely routine, to the point where it's sort of communicated that she's just doing these things because that's how she's living her life, and like she can't actually put any thought into it either, because if she were to, it would disrupt the lives of other people.
Oh, is this Jeanne Dielman is the housewife?
Yeah.
Oh, we've talked about this.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Anyhow,
no,
it's
I
a great
remember.
movie. It's a really original film. And basically what happens is she will move or be forced to move around within the frame, but the scene will be a different day, but the camera will be framed the same way. And so it's like she's used to living by this routine, and then something will happen in frame that will force her to do something else. And the camera movement staying in the same place insists, like, okay, this is what's going to happen, this is how it works, and no disruptions will happen. And then the fact that the disruption happens with the action in frame, like, something happens to her that won't let her do what she needs to do, and disrupts her whole workflow.
Yeah.
like starts to really eat at her, and you can see it because it's so clear. Like, if they had framed all these shots in this diner differently, for example, the idea wouldn't be anywhere near as pertinent, but it's like so clear because it's like she's supposed to be here and do this right now and this thing, and then she can't do it. It's such an elegant and simple way of like not drawing attention to camera movement, drawing attention to what's actually important, which is like the performances and the story, and doing it so seamlessly and elegantly. I just thought it was brilliant. And then like I'm trying to like think of a because I keep going back and forth and like, oh, that's a foreign example.
Dude, honestly, throw them out there. I'm totally taking the piss.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who would win in a fight between Thanos and Darth Vader?
Thanos. Wait, was it Infinity Gauntlet?
See, now we're getting into some really, really good stuff.
Okay, but how long does Kevin McAllister have to set up the house?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry?
How long does Kevin McAllister have to set up the house?
How much prep time?
A week.
Yeah, how much? A week prep time? Oh, they're both smoked.
Who wins in a fight? Kevin McAllister or Thanos?
Does Thanos have
Again,
all of
how
the...
long does he have to set up? How many many paint cans can you swing into Thanos?
If Kevin McAllister had a year to set up.
Undefeated.
No
Undefeated.
difficulty.
Dude, throw him in there with Kratos. Kratos will come out calling for his mummy.
Who's Kratos? I don't even know who that is.
God of
War
War
game.
Just
Big buff
yeah,
dude.
send Goku in there. He's coming out.
Shall I go?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, sorry for the brief interruption. I was actually keen to get into that.
Here to interrupting our discussion of who would win.
Okay.
Let's go across
Noah,
to
please,
foreign
the
films.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brilliant camera work to insist on like the ideas of maturity and coming into past puberty, like changing from being like sort of treated like a child to being forced to become an adult in the movie Black Swan. It's a lot of really brilliant work with mirrors that is really cleverly done with the camera to like insist things like subtly in certain scenes as well. She has this mirror in front of her that's like a three-way mirror, like with like a mirror in front of her, directly in front of her, and then two to like each side of her.
Yeah,
and
at
then,
an angle.
Yeah, at an angle with her, and it like divides her like like all that clever movement with cameras. I don't want to like give any of the like little details away in that movie, but that movie does like camera movement and mixes it with like practicality in a way that's like not so obvious, but like is very like intentful. I'll pick something that's not Aronofsky to like keep going with this.
Yeah.
An obvious example is like Birdman.
Yeah.
Like, not only the fact that like everybody goes, oh, it's one shot, but I don't think people think past it too often. It's like, why is it one shot? And then why does it cut when it cuts? And then why is the last scene also one shot? Like, the narrative of that movie is actually disguised and then unveiled through the camera movement. Like, why it cuts when it cuts, why 90% of the movie is one shot, and then that little 5% at the end is another shot, and why the montages hit at the point that they hit. They actually reveal the plot of the movie through the camera movement, or it assists in revealing the plot of the movie, which I think is brilliant. That one was just like, the fact that they thought to do that and then really pulled that off was like, and it wasn't just pulled off to be like, we're going to make a movie that's one shot because it lends to the idea of we're making a movie about a play, and when you watch a play, there's no cuts. You just have to watch what the actors are doing. You don't get to cut to their best takes and off their best takes. Like, so yes, that's one level of it, and I think, maybe that was the initial thought or something like that. But it actually ties into the narrative in an essential way. Like, that's really clever. When you can like fix camera movement to your narrative and the two can't be torn apart because they actually work simultaneously to communicate the story, that's genius. I don't want to like explain Birdman because it's not a great idea, but that one's really, really brilliant, I think.
You remember the other day, Isaac, you told me, you guys said, oh, you got to check out La La Land. I just hadn't had time to sit down with it yet. Yeah. I watched the first 45 minutes this afternoon before I was coming over here.
Cool.
Really enjoyed it, and I was going to message you guys, but I just thought I'd save it for the podcast. You know that scene where Emma Stone is auditioning and she's like doing a really good performance, like she's talking on the phone, she's like,
oh yeah,
oh my god, yeah,
and you're
what?
45k
right,
that audition,
okay, oh my god, yeah, okay, and she's like crying, and then like the casting director comes through the background, or like it's an assistant or something, it's like
waving through the window on the door.
Yeah, okay, well, I think we're done, I think we're about done, thank you for coming in. I have lived that moment. That was heartbreaking for me. I was watching that and like I'm thinking to myself, I know exactly how that feels. Auditioning in America. It is so true. Like you're there, like you're giving it everything. Like you are doing well. And then thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
It's meant to break your heart, isn't it?
Completely. And it's great because without giving it away, especially because I know you haven't seen it, you really need to feel like both of these people really, really, really might not make it, you know?
But their luck changes, right? I gotta go watch the rest of it.
I can't say a damn thing.
Does she get that audition?
I can't say
We're not going to say what
I'm not
happens.
going to say it.
But I'll just say, like...
You should just watch it.
I'll just say this, because it's like... I think I said this even in, like, another episode of something or other, of this podcast, I mean. That, like, there's something, like, so inherently disgusting to me about auditions. And I hold them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, it's so weirdly objectifying to be like, come into this room... bare your soul for me here of all this work that you've done to prepare for this for free, and then
sometimes even for even more than for free, like you're actually like losing work.
And then there's a 99.9% chance you're not gonna get it, and then leave, and I'll never talk to you again. Like, it's so rude. Like, if you think about it as like a human interaction for a second, like, it's really not fun, you know. And it's worse than a job interview, because in a job interview, at least you're allowed to, like, present professionally. But this is like acting. It's like
no, show me. Show me that thing you're scared to. Show
just
people
rip your soul out of here for
life.
5 minutes while I judge you, and then you can leave. Fuck off! Like, it's so rude. And then, like, I mean, it's kind of, the problem is that it's kind of essential. You can get around it. I mean, David Lynch gets around it, and I think he gets around it in such a brilliant way. And if I could ever get around it in the same way that David Lynch does, because he casts in such a great way, then that would feel a lot better to me. But you have to, like, wonder, because there's that, like, whole intuition thing that's just like, he's like, I have my intuition. If I see the photo of the person that I think is right for the thing, then they have
I know they're right for the part.
No, really. And then he's like, he doesn't even look at the other ones. And, like, as irresponsible as that may be,
you are right for the part.
Because you have, like, 40 options on the
Pretty
table,
good.
right? And, like, let's say you go through 10, and then the 10th one, you're like, they're right. It's like, and you don't look at the other 30, you know what I mean? It's like, well, what could have been, sort of thing. But it's almost...
Yeah. You could theoretically be casting for the rest of time.
Exactly.
If you approached it like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you just have that feeling. It's like, no, this one's right. And you don't know why. And that's really, like, I can bullshit up here all day about, like, technical shit as opposed, and, like, logical reasons for putting people in certain parts. And really, at the end of the day, it is like, you have to go with the person who you think is best for the role. But, like, think is like, well, I go with the person who I feel is best for the role, who feels right eventually. Like, Guillermo del Toro gave me one of the only other pieces of audition advice that I took seriously that I actually like, which is, like, cast the eyes. Because people spend 95% of the movie looking at somebody's eyes. So that's the main thing that's important. Like, you can be attractive and all that, but, like, it's really an eye thing. And I was like, that's really fucking
that's true.
smart.
Yeah.
So I like that.
That's pretty good.
I like
isn't
that as casting advice. And I like Lynch's casting advice, which is just like, they said that my friend recommended me this person, and they were correct. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. They came in, and I knew they were correct for the role. But sometimes that's just the case, you know. You just have to.
Well, like when you saw Jack, you said when you saw Jack, you were like, "That's it. I know he's the guy." Like,
I didn't know it was him when I looked at him.
No, after you saw him, you know,
after I saw his audition, it was fucking right.
Yeah.
You were there, Jackson. Remember when we cast Jack? He came in and we made him read that Anomalisa monologue.
Yes.
And he came in with the whole bloody thing memorized.
Oh, did he read the speech he gives at the end?
I gave him half of it to read.
Oh, wow.
And it was for a movie in first year that we made. Yeah. but I was like, well, this will link to the character well enough. So we basically just said memorize it and do it. And he gave... So that monologue in Anomalisa is very dramatic. And I didn't really... And I think everybody who came in, every actor who came in and did it dramatically, didn't cut it for me.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah. And then Jack comes through, sits down, takes a breath, and we go, hey, Jack, how are you, blah, blah. I think he could tell that we were shy. And good on him for it, anyhow. And then he pulled a chair out, and he said, can I sit down for this? I was like, yeah, of course, what do you want to do? So he sat down, he took a breath, and he said the monologue in such a way that was so sincere and so nuanced and like laid back and really stepped into it and like sat into it, and you just delivered this thing and I was just like transfixed. I was like, holy shit.
We were both very quiet, very focused
but
during that audition.
But he was taking it so seriously.
Yeah.
And then I even remember being like, when it was finished, I looked at Jackson like, holy shit, that was so good. And I think I even said, wow, great work. And like I spoke too soon. Because my dumbass spoke too soon, but he literally was like in the moment, and then he was like, he took a breath in and a breath out, and he like came back to reality, and then would talk to me, and it was just like, man, so good. He was so in it, but you just know that it was fucking right, and I knew nobody else was going to come in who was going to do it better than him, and nobody fucking did, but like it just felt right.
You can see when a writer has put the words on the page.
I wish I'd seen that. I love that.
Yeah,
It was
I
great.
wish I'd been a fly on the wall for that as well.
So
Yeah.
just great piece
I
of
didn't
writing
even know
too.
you then.
Like,
I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't know you.
no, we hadn't met yet.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't.
I guess in a way you didn't get to see it in the actual film, but in a way. But you know, that sounds like an amazing moment.
Yeah. I was gonna say we had a similar thing. We'll talk about this briefly because we have a whole episode dedicated to this. But Jackson and I, from Joel walking in the door, and us seeing his photo, it was weird. I saw Joel's photo for casting, and I was like, he kind of looks like Will. I can't articulate what I mean when I say that, but he kind of looks like Will. And then he came in so kind and so deeply apologetic for being like 3 minutes late, and just clearly super thoughtful, rapidly, straight out the gate, and polite and funny.
And that's rarer than you think too.
Yeah, Jackson and I, he had me pretty quick,
Hooked,
and then he nailed the fucking audition.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And this man came from the Gold Coast, so going back to how shit auditions can be,
Yeah.
this man like was
Traveled
stressing
so
himself
Yeah,
out
for a
so
university graduate project that was never going to pay him, even if he did get the role. We're
Yeah.
legally not allowed to pay him.
much.
You want to know my thoughts on Joel?
Yeah,
My
please.
real thoughts on Joel?
Yeah.
He's a star.
Yeah, dude.
I think he's going to have a huge career in the industry as an Australian actor. I think the next 50 years, you're going to see a lot of Joel Drabble. And to be honest with you, he could pop any moment, and I don't know why he's not already doing more. And I'm not saying it's him.
Yeah.
Shh, we got to be the ones to blow him up, Taylor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
I mean, look at what Flesh and Ivory's doing. I mean,
He is brilliant.
with the distribution run on Flesh and Ivory, as we were talking about earlier,
I really
you know,
want-
it's his central performance in that film that carries.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of him in there as well.
There's
And
no
you know, I've
film-
worked
and
with
it's the
Joel.
same with Bloom. Like, there's no Bloom without Jack. There's no Flesh and Ivory without Joel.
Yeah. When are you guys going to put me in the lead in something, huh?
I'm telling you, Taylor, it's going to happen for sure. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I'm at a stage now where I am like, I would just be so happy to just make things that we make if they are things that I'm interested in.
Taylor, I'm gonna tell you something about casting and like how I cast people. And
Tell
then,
me,
and
Noah.
then you're gonna either I want you to tell me if it's like if it's a good thing or like not a good thing or like an offensive thing or something like this.
I'm offended already. Go.
Okay, great. So I think I might have even mentioned this point on a podcast before, but I want to say that I haven't. So David Cronenberg's a director I really like.
Oh, yeah.
He's made some really great films that I love a lot. And he said in an interview one time that I think he was speaking about Robert Pattinson. And he was saying something like...
Super talented.
Yeah, I love Robert.
You know what annoys me
He's
about
good.
that is that I
It's good in
told
everything.
everyone, I said, this guy's really interesting. This guy's going to do really, really well. And everyone was like, oh, no. He's you know, just the guy from Twilight. And I was like, no.
Fuck off. No, he's not.
That's where you start. But then you get into more interesting things. And you could tell that he's smart and he has an eye to look for the more interesting things off to the side, wacky, weird things. And, you know, I kind of had that with Neighbours a little bit as well. Like, not my current agent. I'm so happy with my current agent. But I've had a previous agent call me and say, they don't want to see you because they think that you're just a soap actor. And I'm like, that is just... You cannot judge me only upon that.
Yeah,
You completely cannot. I mean, at least see me. Get me into the room. And then if it's shit, then don't cast me and you don't have to get me back. Or watch my tape and then don't even email my agents back if the tape is no good. But you cannot have a preconception of someone, because when you start out, you have to do your Twilight, you have to do your Neighbours, because it's how you get your start. I just don't really believe in pigeonholing anyone, because I'm looking now for those kind of off to the side, weird, wacky things as well. And to be honest, they were always the things that when I was younger that I dreamed about doing. So I will give everybody the chance to send a tape.
I can't remember which
and
actress...
then watch it and then decide.
Yeah, for sure. I can't remember which actress said this, and I don't want to get it wrong, so I won't say, but somebody who worked in like Australian TV, who's like now a big name actress, I heard her say in an interview once, I've forgotten who it is, said she was in, I did this soap for like 3 or 4 years, and it's called this, and basically it's acting boot camp, is what she said.
It
we all
totally
know
is.
exactly who that is.
You do know who that is.
Oh, I know. It's Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
I thought it was
because of
Naomi
Home and
Watts
Away.
for a second,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it was a
right.
similar thing at a con press
Oh,
conference
okay,
once,
sure.
but okay, it was Margot, that's good to know.
I've met Margot, she's lovely. And I met her actually on the sets at Neighbours. I was just starting out and she was just finishing off, and then she went on and did so well.
I'm hyped for this Barbie movie.
Dude.
It
Anyhow.
looks fun.
The leaks look great. You were saying about David Cronenberg.
Sorry, Cronenberg, yes. So David Cronenberg said in an interview, speaking about arm hats, that he said, like, back in the day when you had to cast somebody, it was really difficult because you had to meet them in person and that you had to meet them, get a feel for who the person is, like, talk to them, suss them out, see, like, not only, like, if they're a nice, kind, genuine person who you might want to work with, but also that they were, like, just what their quirks were like what their personality was like, what their mannerisms were like, sort of how they behaved in a space, because that would tell you a lot about how you would cast them. And he said, and nowadays it's great because we have the internet and there's just all these freely available interviews on demand, so I can go and watch people interact in like interviews and just see how they are as a person.
Oh wow.
So
people listening to this right now analyzing us doing the same thing,
well,
probably.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. You do that all the time when you meet somebody anyway.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
that's what social media is
Yeah.
now too, but we're not going to go into
Exactly.
that. That's huge.
Instagram's just the modern day business card now.
Yeah.
He's basically just saying that, like, it's convenient. It's more convenient because you don't have to meet them and suss them out. You can just watch other people meet them, and that will help you suss them out that way.
It's tricky that too, because you're watching them in a context. If
You're
you're watching
watching them
someone
in a
in
space.
an interview,
Yeah.
you're watching them knowing that
True.
the world is watching.
It's got to be somewhat similar to an audition room in that you're watching somebody who's trying to appease people.
True.
To see them.
True.
But in the same context, I guess it depends how you're watching them, what footage you're watching of them do, and things like this. But like, you can sort of gauge a feel to some extent for who they are, unless they're like some total sociopath. But like most of the time, you get a decent idea of who they are, right? So like, point being, when you cast somebody, I feel at least, you're casting how they do their audition and how they play the character, sure, but like that's like 90% just how they are to me. Like, they can be angry or be sad or be whatever, but that's them being a character that is that way. That's not them like it doesn't matter which actor you watch, like, they can't change their whole mannerisms, the way that they talk and be and speak, like, because it's just so inherently ingrained in them that, like...
You can really only play yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
really.
You are yourself.
Yeah,
You're starting from
it's
yourself.
just different. It's just the different ways that you understand yourself. That's
and
all roles are.
You're playing
Yes.
the way in which that you
To
interpret the
me,
character.
as a writer-director who's never
I-
acted. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, no, you're right. Part of the fun of, like, when you get a complicated character is how you get to look inside yourself and go, oh, will I use a bit of that? Will I use a bit of that? Who is this guy? He's like someone I know out there in my life. I can use a little bit of that, and how you put it all together. But I would definitely say, like, the better, I don't know if I've said this in a previous podcast, but I feel I'm only getting better and going to get better. At least that's the idea. The older I get, because I've experienced a lot from 20 to 30, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. So what I know and what I've been through at 30 is more than what I've been through, what I had gone through at 20. I don't think anyone can argue that. You
sure.
acquire more life experience as you get older, right? So you just have more to draw from.
Sure. I don't know that inherently makes you a better actor. I think you have to work to become a better actor alongside doing that.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Because I know kid actors who are awesome, and now that they're grown up, they are not as good as they were when they were younger.
Yes, then there is also like the skills, the tricks of actually doing it. But then you can just go completely. There's a couple of different ways you can act. You can be completely raw, or you can use tricks and be interesting. Probably what you want to do is be a little bit of both. Just whatever it takes on the day.
Yeah.
One day you might be feeling really good. One day you might be feeling really bad. You got to use whatever you're feeling.
Yeah.
And then at a very minimum, go in hyper raw. And then, like I said, with the interesting versus like realism thing, if you can get some tricks in there without the expense of losing any realism, I always do that.
Yeah. My point being, in casting, if I can find footage of them doing an interview for something, that absolutely factors in my decision as to whether I would cast them or not, because I don't get very long with them in an audition room. And if I can watch more tapes of them or watch footage of themselves being how they are. So the reason that I said, I don't know if this is going to offend you or not, is essentially because I'm definitely casting you for you to some extent. So I feel like, to me, in a certain way, like, I'm not an actor, in certain ways, like, that would, I think, as an actor, make me go, oh, okay, well, they just weren't looking for me. You know what I mean? It's more of a numbers game than
so
anything
it can
else.
hurt.
Yeah, right. But it can also be like a you know, let's say a role won't take you because you're 6'2" and they needed somebody who was 5'8".
Yeah, happens all the time. Or you got brown hair and they wanted blonde hair.
Right, exactly.
Whatever.
Which, like, that's got to be, to some sense, it's like, well, the job was never mine to begin with because they would only cast somebody like that. In the same way that, like, as a director, I'm going to prefer my character to have a certain personality type, I suppose. And so if you behave that way and have those certain mannerisms, like, as a person inherently, you're more likely to get cast. Does that make sense?
Oh, it's largely in the casting.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Like, if you want insurance on a role, I mean, just pick someone who is already 80 to 90% that character.
That way, yeah, exactly.
And if you don't, then pick someone who's doing a major transformation, who's 20% that character, but that's when that ends up being a name actor.
Right.
That's when
is
you get
getting,
like a Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's right. The reputability.
Yeah, he's a chameleon.
That being said, he's still Daniel Day-Lewis. He's totally different in every single role that he plays, and he's so, but like, Daniel Day-Lewis getting angry in one film is kind of similar to him getting angry in another film. It's just that he's so immersed in the character that you believe that it's a different person.
Yeah.
But you can still see mannerisms that are the same. It's not like he changes his whole fucking being.
There is always some overlay. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. There's always that overlay where you're like, it's still that guy. And like, the best actors ever, they still do certain things a certain way.
This is kind of interesting.
That's interesting, because I really believe that he's like...
So do I.
Like him and Lincoln is not him and...
There
will be blood. Like I couldn't... If I didn't know who Daniel Day-Lewis was.
Okay. If you pay attention to who he is and how he moves and how he does certain things across certain movies, you can be like, you did that thing in that one and that thing in that one.
Yeah. But like, if, let's just say Daniel Day-Lewis walks into the audition room.
Yeah.
And I'm casting Lincoln.
He's got a higher skill level than most.
Yeah. I don't know a single person who behaves like Abe Lincoln in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously, like, the dialect is different.
Okay, well,
language is different.
That's a bit of a limit
stuff.
case because you're casting against somebody who's going to do a biopic character justice as opposed to like your interpretation of who they are, sort of thing.
Yeah. But like, there's still so much transformation. Like, I know that, like, obviously, Philip Seymour Hoffman is, you know, super versatile.
Yeah.
But you can still, when he yells, it's still the same tone of
exactly.
voice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know if he walked into an audition room, if I could pull that tone of voice out and go, that fits this.
Yeah.
Because it's like, his range is so beyond that. Like,
so put it this way, there's like maybe 50, 100, however many actors in the world who are like superb and like incredible at what they do.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
And Taylor Glockner is at least 50 of those actors because he's so diverse in the roles that he's able to.
I'm only joking.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, like, let's say you have like everybody from Philip Seymour Hoffman to Joaquin Phoenix to resurrect whoever to play a certain role.
Yeah.
You have all these great actors. Like, if you write a certain role, you're going to choose certain people on this list because they feel like they are that way, right?
Right. Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Gotcha.
like, even if they are all at the highest level that you can get to and all that sort of stuff, and you're like, well, they're all extraordinary actors, and I don't even know that I could like do some sort of mathematical equation where this one's better than that one or whatever. It's not the case. It's just like, this person feels more like this character than this person. Even if it's Daniel Day-Lewis versus Philip Seymour Hoffman, they're still like, they're different personality types in a certain way. That's all I'm saying.
And that makes like a lot of sense. I'll throw an interesting like hypothetical in the mix.
Okay.
So we all know what Charlize Theron's early career looks like. What is the person thinking who saw her and then made her Eileen Wuornos?
Is Eileen Wuornos Monster?
Yeah.
She probably came in.
I have no idea.
Okay, she gave an audition that was extraordinary that nobody yet had given her the opportunity.
Yeah,
to do.
which is what I'm
Sorry,
kind of getting at.
No, you're right.
Is like, it's not just, I wouldn't, because I've seen a lot of auditions with her. I think she's an amazing actress. I really like Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick that from seeing her and seeing how she is to go,
Sure.
I'm sure you could pull out Eileen Wuornos. Like
you wouldn't
it's
know
not
that it's
there.
in them.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know until
I wouldn't
but
blame
now
you
it's
for
come
not
out.
knowing either, because it's not like you're going to be like talking to someone in a casual conversation and then see that they could play a serial killer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right.
That really cracks me up. Willem Dafoe has that thing where he said recently, a lot of people on the street tell me, oh, you know who you should play? The Joker. It's always lovely to hear that you have the vibe of a sociopath.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Taylor, you were going to say?
The thing about Monster, and I know about the film. I have not seen the film, but I can see in my head how she looked. I know she like gained weight for it, and I mean Charlize Theron. I mean, I'm getting married in like 3.5 months, but who gives a shit? Like, everyone knows she's beautiful, right?
Yeah, she's stunning.
You know what I mean?
So and she carries herself super elegantly. She's
naturally beautiful, fantastic actress. But she was what I was taught that it's called is braving ugly. She really braved ugly for Monster. She gained weight. She wasn't doing things to try to be good looking.
Yeah.
Had teeth knocked out or something in Monster, and
she like shaved off her eyebrows. Like,
she's got shaved off eyebrows.
Yeah.
She's
Or
not trying to be, conventionally.
It's really respectable.
Yeah,
Any actor
it's
who
great.
agrees to like look ugly on film, like it's really respectable.
Yeah.
Yes. So, by the way, I look forward to looking ugly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm not. No. Hang on a minute. No, I didn't mean that. Like, I think that I'm.
You're so beautiful.
No. I didn't mean it. You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
I didn't mean it like I currently
you're keen
think
to
that I'm.
have the opportunity.
But
to
in
do
any
that.
opportunity, in any role, if I can take an uglier option rather than a good-looking option, because look, if I grow my hair out and if I don't shave and if I'm not in good shape, I will not look as good as if I had a good haircut, had a good shave, I'm in shape. But when I'm doing a role, I am very kind of keen to choose an uglier option because it's more natural. And also because everything that I did when I was younger was based upon, to be honest with you, being Mr. Good Looking Man.
Yeah.
Makeup department, let's make him Mr. Good Looking. Okay, great. That's how you got to start out, doing your Twilights. But I look forward to doing the stuff where, and like we've got this thing in the making where the characters
he doesn't look super pretty.
He doesn't look great. But
I'm excited
to do that.
Yeah, totally.
So you got to really brave ugly. The other thing about Monster is she may not have she wouldn't have auditioned because she was very established. So it would have just been a referral, or she may have already known the filmmakers who made Monster, right?
Could be.
She may have put that together herself because she won an Oscar for that. So she may have been trying to do a performance that could. She did win an Oscar, didn't she? For that,
yeah,
pretty sure she did.
No, she did. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
she may have been going, right, now's the time I'm going to pivot on a medium budget film or a lower budget film, and I'm going to try and do something, I'm not going to say just to win an Oscar, but to try and do something that's going to have some real creative acclaim, as opposed to just doing something very mainstream, which people enjoy and makes a lot of money, like The Italian Job.
Yeah.
In 2001, where like she looks beautiful and it's like a fun movie, people driving.
And everyone's hitting on her, and that's the whole...
Yeah. And it's like, no, I'm going to do something like drastically different. So she may have put that together herself, fully or partially, because she was trying to go in another direction, which is what in some of the films we make, I'm certainly going to try to do now. over the next few years. And you really can see, like this happened with Robert Pattinson, and I can tell you what part of it I think I'm in, is that you do your mainstream pretty boy, good looking stuff at the start. For me, it was like 18 to like 25, 26. Now here I am at 30 looking for like, what's the weirdest script you can send me? Like, what is the weirdest thing that you can send me where I don't look like myself at all and I can try and do the biggest transformation that I can do and where I can be ugly in it. And I'm going to try and do like, I mean, my agent might not be too happy about this, but like, so if I audition for a big thing and I get it, great, I'll do it. Awesome. But in my own time, what I'm working on is these weird little wacky things that probably aren't going to make any money, but I'm going for kind of like really interesting creative stuff. And then what ends up happening is you might make some shitty indies, but one of them at some point will strike a chord, and then you will end up back on the mainstream again, playing Batman. Like what happened to Robert Pattinson. Because one of your independent films actually really hit, which was Good Time. Or you know, The Lighthouse.
Or some director who's making that movie saw you do something that was against what you were known for and went, oh, he's got more range.
That's right. And you also got to be brave, and you got to be like, okay, I'm not going to keep doing okay, that's the end of that chapter, and now I'm in a new chapter. This thing, people say, oh, you've made it. I don't believe that you make it and like, that's it. Like, you have to make it every day. And every day is a new set of circumstances that you need to make it upon, you know? And so now I'm trying to make it based upon going for something completely different than what was happening when I was in my early 20s. I think it's cool.
Absolutely. I'll say this really quickly because I don't want to like take up too much time with any more of this sort of stuff, but I'll just say it with you, like, I'm not advocating for typecasting, and nor am I advocating for casting against type. I think if you cast somebody just because that's their type, then you're stupid. And if you cast somebody just because it's against type, then that's stupid too. Like, some people do certain things well, sure, and they do other things not so well, sure, fine, play to your strengths, like, that's not a terrible idea. But, and you know, like, you could make the argument that, like, band people do this too, like, people who have bands and artists who have things, it's like, you can see a logical progression without completely changing the personality or the type of music or the type of role you play or something like this. And I think it's probably better that people do branch out and, like, do things that aren't if that's what they want to do, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, as not biased as I would love myself to be when I cast, like, if you come into a room having a really genuine person, if you fake a personality, you can sort of see through it at a certain point. But like, if you just have that sort of personality, and that's gonna impact the role, and so of course you're gonna get cast that way. But it's the same thing as getting cast for like having brown hair to some extent. It's like, well, maybe that's just how you are. So like, of course, directors who want to make the best film that they can possibly make are going to capitalize off the fact that you are that way.
Completely. Completely.
How I'm thinking, if I've done a massive transformation in a character, which I could probably go through and name a few, it is literally every day, every hour, every moment, you are pushing uphill to hold that transformation. To grab every snippet you need to grab for it to go into the film.
Absolutely.
And for it to work the whole time and never drop the ball. Whereas other times I've been like, I mean, this guy's like 70-80% me, and then it's like 20%, which is pretty much just the lines take care of that.
Right.
And then you're just chilling, like you're drinking a coffee, like in the middle, like you're having laughs and stuff. And that's easy too, and that can come up really natural too, because it's pretty much you. But when you're doing transformations, take a lot of spirit out of you to do. And that's why sometimes when I finish a role that has taken a lot of like spirit and passion and energy, whatever you want to call it, focus out of me, that's why I'm often zonked on set. Like, you'll see me give everything in the take. Like, remember in Bloom, I shot 2 days. And you fucking make me do like a 12-minute take.
It was long.
In between those takes, on the lunch break, I was napping. On the bed.
It's exhausting.
You know, because it's like, no offense or anything. Like, I want to be there and I like everybody there, but like when I'm on, you got to be so on. Really. And it's not being fake on. Like, oh my god, like you're not being. It's just like it just takes an incredible amount of focus. It really does. Like, you get home at the end of the day and you're like, okay, like, or you finish like a role that you've given so much spirit to, and you're like, I don't want to do anything now for a while until like my tank refills. And like when I finished Neighbours, like it's pretty well documented. I shot like 1,000 scenes in like a year, but my whole involvement was like 2 years to do it all. I literally, did I say this in another podcast? Hung out in my parents' basement playing Halo 4 and laying on the mattress literally for like this is no exaggeration, for working really, really hard for like 2 years. Like 3 weeks I just laid on the mattress and did like nothing except maybe like went for a walk every few days and then just went back and played Halo 4.
Needed a big holiday.
I was zonked because that's how much of myself I give, and it's just the way that I do it.
Yeah.
But if you get it on screen, you got to do whatever it takes. Really.
Yeah, right.
You got to try to take care of yourself though while you do it. And as I've gotten older, I've certainly like not hurting myself as much to get it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward, just because and something, so I've moved on recently from my full-time job, and it was something where it was like every week you give 5 days and then you get a 2-day break and then it's 5 days and it feels like it's never ending. I feel like I've never done something that huge.
It was pretty much like 6 days. Saturdays was used for like promos and stuff, or pickups that you'd missed for weather or what have you, just having a busy schedule. And then on Sunday, you pretty much just lay in bed and try to relax and keep learning your lines and do the washing. That's it.
Yeah. I am keen to not work in full time and work so that I can do things like, okay, I'm going to be flat out for this period of time, but then I'm doing nothing for this period of time, you know, and then I'm flat out and then I'm doing nothing, like having the weeks where you're like bed.
You actually need...
I always work better that way because I need the momentum to roll on.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I can't be having go and then 2-day weekend and then go and then 2-day weekend, you know, for seemingly ever.
Sure.
It's kind of the appeal of like the film industry is like you go on a shoot, you know, and then you edit and stuff, but the editing work is different to the shoot work and you get a break and it's, you know.
Would you say editing is not as mentally tolling as principal photography? I feel like editing might be more rewarding because you get to see it come together and be polished. I know editing would excite me a lot. When I direct something, I know I'll be very excited in the edit.
It depends because it doesn't matter what you're shooting. When you get the first rough cut, you're like, fuck, is that it? Shit. You know? Every time. Every time. Like when it's not fully fledged, it's like, you know, it's like, okay, now the editing begins. Now I have to pull all of what I think it is out of what I have, you know?
I agree. I think that, so to me, editing is more like writing in that you can sort of do it forever. It's like just sort of this like seemingly endless bullshit that just stacks up over and over again, and however long you think it's going to take, just times it by like 12. And then like the difference with shooting to me is that shooting's stress, and it actually doesn't matter. You don't get more time. Like it's not, you don't get it. You do all your abuse of time in writing so that you can prepare your best for shooting, and then you try just because of how, and it has nothing to do with anything apart from money. Like you can only shoot for this long because that's how long people are available to shoot with you. So like, here you go. Here's a scene you've worked on for, you know, let's say 2 years. Okay, you have half an hour to execute it. It's really what it is. And so shooting can't be anything to me apart from stress. It's just stress.
Yeah. So your next film, what pace are you going to shoot that at compared to what you shot the Bloom?
Well, I mean, it's not like I really have much of a choice because I don't just have like millions pouring out my ass to be able to do it. And also like people aren't free all the time. So like you have to shoot in accordance to the time that you're given, and you have to make do with that. Like I try and make do with that as well as I can by like, but my filmmaking style kind of lends itself to that in such a way where like I don't like to do a whole bunch of shots and things like that.
He would just set you in a 12-minute take.
Exactly, yeah. But like to me that's more honest anyhow, so I enjoy doing
Seriously.
that. Yeah, really, but like I mean, it's better than fucking doing 80,000 camera setups of like close up, this close up, this close. Can you imagine if we shot Bloom like that? We would have been shooting it for fucking
cuts.
3 months.
Break it into 5-second cuts so I don't have to learn the lines, please.
Read the line.
Can we do that?
Yeah. It's okay. So like
next movie we'll get flashcards.
Yeah.
Please, I'll put them on
We can organise flashcards.
the forehead like Marlon Brando did of Robert Duvall. Have you seen that in The Godfather? He's got like the lines. Like, that is incredible, by the way, like how good Brando's performance is in that film.
By reading the lines off of flashcards.
And he was reading the lines off flashcards taped to the
That's
other
ridiculous.
actors.
I did not know that.
There's photos of it. It's great. It's BTS
And
photos.
it's really good. And Robert Duvall like came out and said like, I like Marlon, like I like him, but it must be laziness, right? You know, that's what he said, and he's probably right. But that is a testament to Marlon, how good he was able to be reading off of flashcards. Can you imagine if he had actually put in the work? And I would even say that in The Godfather 1, you can see moments, I would even argue, where he drops out for a breath and he's like, what am I supposed to be doing now? And then you can see him think it, and then he just goes, oh yeah, that's the line, and then he goes on. But it kind of works because Vito's like so old and slow that you actually then endow onto him that Vito might have been thinking about something in the criminal underworld for that moment, and then like it's actually like he really gets away with it. So it's kind of a testament for how good he was able to be on the fly.
For sure. And you can tweak
And can
pacing and editing and
and I think they may
Yeah.
have. I'm not. It's a great, amazing performance. But and can I tell you, like, no bullshit. I had you know when you maybe you watch an interview or you watch something that's been historically documented about the way that it was done, and then you watch it like, oh, that's how they did it, and The Godfather is super successful, so that's how I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna give you any context. But I, one time, had a guy who I was acting opposite, did not learn his lines for like a 3-page scene, want to be like Brando, because he'd heard that that's the way that Brando did Vito Corleone in The Godfather,
This is very cringe.
want to put his lines on my forehead
You're kidding.
when they were setting up on him. And the director was just like...
Imagine.
The director was like, no. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
You've had 2 weeks to learn this 2-page scene. What are you doing? If I had known you were going to pull this shit, I would have got someone else.
Yeah. Imagine hearing that, watching The Godfather, hearing that story, knowing Brando, and then that's what you take from that.
That's what he took from it. He's like, oh, that's the way the best do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was like really disappointed. And did he pull it off as well as Brando did on the fly? No, he didn't. Let me tell you that much.
Shocker.
It was bad. It was bad.
There's not an
They
echo
saved
here,
him in the
ladies and
edit. Maybe I can't talk too much because I've been saved in the edit. Anybody who's jumped in front of camera has been saved in the edit at some point. Let me tell you. You know. All right. Well, I tell you what? From having no plan, did we?
Oh, fuck. I don't know.
How long did we talk for?
It's like 2 hours.
Oh shit. Okay, we should sign off. Let's transition out. Somebody say something to transition out.
All right. Well, that is the end. Hey, no.
Best transition.
No, hang on a minute. I'm a serious actor. Can you not laugh?
Sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
I want you to
Sorry,
laugh
Taylor,
when I'm
sorry.
being comedic, but I was being serious there. I'm actually very offended by that.
Ahaha, Taylor. You're my future wife.
Ah, nice dog.
me.
Yeah,
If
of course.
Tommy Wiseau eats pork, is he a cannibal because of the Pigman sketch? Does nobody know about the Pigman sketch?
I haven't seen it.
What a story, Noah.
Does nobody know? None of you know about Pigman?
I haven't
Oink,
seen
oink,
it.
I am Pigman. You don't know
It
about
sounds vaguely familiar,
It's
but like I
great.
think you've shown me once. I
It's
just
so
can't remember.
amazing.
What is it?
I love it. I love Tommy
I haven't
Wiseau.
seen it. Yeah, he's great. You want to talk about fearless fucking artists? That's
Yeah,
one.
that's
That's
one of
one.
And casting as well. Like,
Yeah.
you want to cast...
There is a role that is perfect out there.
Oh,
For him.
yeah.
Yeah, I know I was
It's
speaking
there.
about casting eyes earlier, but truly what you have to cast is ass. There's that Tommy Wiseau
We've got to
shot
start again.
in the room where he shows his ass.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Have you
true.
forgotten about this?
And he insisted that
Yeah.
he show ass.
Well, the way the shot is set up, it's so clearly to show his ass off.
He's got a great ass.
Oh, no. We're going to start again.
I can't say that Tommy Wiseau is a great ass.
I feel like that's fair.
We're going to do another outro.
I can't say Tommy Wiseau has a great ass.
Yeah,
It's a compliment, man.
Yeah,
I wanna work with us.
Look, keep that on record. Tom Wiseau as a great art.
Okay, let's transition out.
I'll say that.
I'll say it too. I agree.
Okay, I'm not sure what exactly episode number that was.
I don't know what it is.
But I think we touched on some pretty interesting stuff, and honestly, I could keep talking and talking and talk. I'll talk your bloody ear off.
Yeah.
So that's the Calligram podcast for this fortnight. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you again soon.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, baby.
Nice.
Okay, bye everybody.
Oh yeah.